Well, there it is. Episode 100. And this whole show feels so fucking mechanically separated that even as I'm recording this episode, even as I'm recording the audio portion of this episode and trying to put a standardized version of the latest album that I have out, I'm even having issues there. So this, all the way up to leading up to episode 100, gets a big flat, lowest possible quality available. And that is like probably not even my decision. That's probably the podcast gods who have decided that. So I'm pretty delighted about it, as I am with most things. Nah, I'm just messing with you. I'm not happy about it at all. I actually, I never do this. I never ever. Basically, what it looks like from my perspective, it's like I'm throwing a little temper tantrum or some sort. And I'm just slapping together the lowest possible quality because my technology's not cooperating. But sometimes you gotta pick your battles. You gotta choose your battles. You gotta pick and choose your battles. Know when to hold them and when to fold them. And I am absolutely folding on this one. So whenever it is that the show itself actually comes back, probably immediately, I think the only way to actually really compensate for how bad that it is to just slap a white or black background on something, put the number of the episode on there, throw the audio on there. In fact, the last two episodes, or not the last two, but a few episodes back, I didn't even have any music on there, and I literally even said that there was music on there. Like, I literally said music break and didn't even put any music on there. That's an absolute temper tantrum for sure. And I'm not used to that at all. Something's weird going on here. Something's very wrong. Something's wrong here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put these episodes out and let myself cry, have a cry about it all I want, so that I can just surpass episode 100 and finish season 7. It's one of those things where I know for certain I'm gonna look back later on at the moment that I reached episode 100, completed season 7, and then just decided to say fuck it and just put the shit out there, because it would have had no other possible way of reaching my voice to the world were I not to just do it all sloppy and give it the lowest possible quality. So what does that say? What does that say about whatever fucking is going on here? But on a grander scale, don't stay in your comfort zone. Don't do your comfort zone way of trying to broadcast your messages. If you wait for snail mail, that's not to say the same thing at all. Because I have to say, if you wait for snail mail, you can actually get next day mail through snail mail. Snail mail can actually give you next day fucking results. So it's not to say anything about snail mail. I'm not going to talk about an entire business, an entire government entity known as the United States Postal Service, and then compare it to me uploading a podcast. But I'm certain plenty of these things are important. There's plenty of this information still important. Plenty of it still ties into it somehow. But wow, it's kind of like the last few birthdays I've been having too. The last few birthdays I've been having have just been total shit. Absolute fucking shit. Anything that's supposed to be a memorable and important occasion has just become flattened like a fucking pancake. And if that isn't something that's wrong, well, tell me what the fuck is wrong then. So anyway, this is episode 100, and this is also the season finale of season 7. To finish 7 seasons in this way, you would think that I would have possibly been able to prevent it, or had to have seen it coming. But as I said a moment ago, I'll look back on this years later and say, oh yeah, I just fucking didn't give a fuck. I'll probably feel better about myself and reward myself later for having chosen the better option of just saying, hey, I went all the way hard the entire fucking time. Like, literally all the fucking way, completely hard the entire fucking time. So if this fucking had not shown anything at all to a maybe technology that works scenario where I could actually put together a fucking good episode 100 and a good season 7 finale. I don't know if it's the technology, but I'm using this technology, and so the technology will get mentioned a few times therein. But hey, I'm in fact going to make sure I never know what the fucking problem was now. I probably won't ever have the ability to ever know what the problem fucking was. It's just one of those things that I'd be better off not even fucking knowing. And everybody else would be better off not knowing whether or not I care. So what am I going to talk about in episode 100? Well, I'll finish reading what I wrote down, and then I'll start there. The whole show, first of all, what I just said that I already had written down is where I want to expand on, that the show feels mechanically separated, and that's just from, not only from having these be the last few episodes, a whole string of episodes leading up to this point looking like this, number one, and then number two, the way that everything looks. I mean, it has that grungy, dark, fuzzy look to it, and that's cool if there's a way to escape from it, if there's a way that I could have like a few episodes to, or if I chose that or something, one or the other, no escape from it, didn't even choose it, and it just looks like shit, let's be honest, okay, it looks like shit. And there's, if and when there's people that are like, but I like it looks like shit and all that stuff. Well, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm the creator of this show. It was established 4 years ago, and it looks like shit. So I'll be discussing that and a few weird things about it from the perspective of someone who's been making proper online content for 14 years. And I say proper online content being that the stuff that I did make has a brighter filter, higher contrast, controllable and digestible saturation and color. And I'm probably only just mentioning this because the other day or yesterday I was reading something that someone was saying about contrast, saturation, etc. But other words and things that I could do to try to keep up to my own standards, or so it may seem, or however it may sound, or whatever the fuck it is that's actually whatever else the fuck that it is that's actually going on here. I don't fucking know, but I don't like it. I don't like the look of it. So, getting the fucking next episodes after this put out, what a headache. Oh, what a headache that will be indeed. Oh, I'm so not looking forward to that. Dead wrong. I'm fucking happy to help the machine improve on fucking having no context whatsoever as to where these problems came from, so that it can literally just throw whatever the fuck it wants at me and then have answers basically be AI generated. It from this standpoint literally puts me in a position where I'm like basically just literally AI. And that's not a new thing at all. That's very common, very obvious, but it's the easiest thing to do ever to anybody now, more than ever. It at least was a bit challenging probably, like before the time of AI and stuff. But AI as itself actually exists right now, though. So if there's, anybody like ever that could find an easier fucking way an easier and more pathetic and pitiful fucking way of existing, it would be this way. This exact fucking way. Not any different than it at all. The whole entire circumstances, even itself, it appears to be fucking quarantined off. But I thought quarantine happened 5 years ago. So I don't know what the fuck this is. It's probably just one of those things where, you kind of exacerbate things and make things a lot worse than they have to be. And then the other person fucking does this, and Pineapple Express. Here we go, round and fucking round we go, guys. Cue the fucking circus music. And a bunch of people need to hear that, but it just appears nobody will. So whoever it is that does hear that and does watch the show, I'd appreciate it if you commented to let me know you're there. Even if it's like gibberish. I mean, just literally type gibberish and stuff that doesn't make any sense at all in the comments. And I'll be like, oh, this person is not a robot. But it looks to me like I'm just being viewed by the machine, like the robots. The bots are my only audience, it appears. What does that mean, to me? What does that actually mean to me? To me, I'm experiencing this stuff. You're hearing me broadcast live from in the midst of this stuff. And it means stuff to me. There's still thoughts going through my head. I'm not quite paranoid. I'm not quite oblivious to what's going on here. So what am I? What am I thinking about this stuff, Well, that would be a question I would have to ask if I wasn't past episode 100 and finishing off season 7 and had my stuff prepared for the 8th season. To see how the rest of the show is going to work out. And just really, continue remembering why the fuck I do this for and what I started it for and what's the meaning of this to me, putting my voice out into the internet and then having it be viewed by bots, and then mentioning that I'm just simply being viewed by bots and all the information is just extracted and used for whatever fucking reason. But there's one thing though. There's one thing about that is there's third parties, and there seems to be a game and like regiment and routine that people follow where third parties, this is my rules and people like me's rules who do this, and what was going on here, and the rest of the normal world, they're playing the rules of there's third parties. They're collecting your data and information. You're going to be receiving updates and emails from time to time that are going to tell you how you can get involved, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, this is all mature content anyway, so luckily everybody here is over 21. But, unfortunately, I'm still playing that game as well. I mean, I'm talking about third parties and cookies, and then getting involved in that and other stuff as well. But it seems a whole hell of a lot more meaningless to me than being here dealing with this, where everybody else is just following the rules, man, and they're not making the rules, they're just following orders, man. That's always the case, right? That's always often the case, isn't it? Like, et tu, Brute, or fucking the guy that killed Jesus, Judas Iscariot. And then, you know, you don't have like any fucking, you don't have any, these two things cannot be even remotely compared to each other at all. But it seems that if there were anything that could be actually utilized and said to improve, it'd be that. That if you have people who, like me, are putting out content and releasing large amounts of information, who might be coming across this information? Maybe an enemy from another country could come across this information, like Korea or Russia. Know how a common American man lives, and then collect it. It's probably, I'm certain, already happened. From my perspective, I don't know how I'm supposed to know. Who would I reach out to? Possibly the NSA or something? It would be one of those things where if anybody were ever in this position, you would have to allow them to be able to tap out, for metaphorically, so to speak, if they're asking questions like what I'm asking right now. But hey, who gives a fuck? It's episode 100 and season 7, so I guess I technically got what I wanted or whatever. But no doubt in my mind, it's completely and totally and entirely retarded. And thus the show feels mechanically separated. It looks like shit. All that specific details about actual video editing looks like shit. The main thing is all these episodes being out of order, and then just to top it off and kind of match, you know, without having any. I'm obviously, you know, nobody will be able to make sense of any of this stuff. So I'm gonna have to, because of this, I'm gonna have to make sense for you. That I'll let things get to a certain point, and then I will match where it is at, and then matching where it's at right now, I have a shitload of freedom after that. So just in case there's anything I'm worried about, don't worry. All the stuff I'm worried about will start appearing before me. Anyway, when I started feeling like the show looked like shit, I still put out real episodes, but I've reached the point where no, there's actually no tap out here. There's actually no fucking emergency off switch or anything. It's like the show has completely gone off the rails. My life itself appears to have gone completely off the fucking rails. But, I mean, honestly, anybody with this much, speculating this much and having this much commentary on it, how could I possibly ever even really trust that? Is that my own judgment, or is that just another one of those what I'm supposed to feel about stuff? Or a thing that I'm supposed to follow, like the third party movement, which has become nothing more than just a rigmarole. So, like, they do so much explaining with the third party thing. Let me talk on that for a second. There's so much explaining with the third parties. Like, it's literally as soon as you arrive at the domain at the www.whateverItRainsAllDay.com, there's just you're blasted full of information about cookies right there. There's so much explaining all the time, and then there's the explaining about what you can do about it, and then there's the explaining about all this stuff. It's like, you know, is there some big huge breach, huge gigantic security breach, and the one who comes up with the correct answer is just the one who provided the information? I mean, that's freaking me out in my mind. That, like, well, what does that mean about anything? What does that mean about everything? What is that about everything that has to do with me wanting something, or me wanting to go somewhere, or information that's exchanged back and forth in the process of either one of those two things? does that mean that I'm gonna have to fucking literally go to my settings and check on my settings like a hawk and make sure that my settings aren't changing on me? Because anybody who has a good phone, who has a decent phone, you'll know that there's probably less likelihood that you're going to be doing anything on it like that, and that's what you're supposed to be doing, so you won't be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you have a shitty phone like me, you're going to be doing all the fucking research and all the work yourself because you don't have the fucking setting stay the same, and there's no tap out. There's no tap out per se, but you can get rid of your phone altogether and just literally live without a phone. That is appearing to be the only fucking solution here. I'd hate to make this whole episode totally on this note, but hey, it's episode 100 and it's the season finale, so might as well fucking get this, shake this loose so that season 8 can have what it has prepared for it. But I'm going to stay on topic. I've got all the stuff that I've got prepared for next season worrying me now about, well, that information being collected is going to make it so that, it's, if there were something good that I could say about it, or anything that were like a battle tactic, or like how strong of a person that I am, or how I'm making it through it, how could I possibly ever trust that I'd be able to say that? How would I ever possibly be comfortable saying that? Unless, of course, with not alone and like with a co-host for starters, just with a co-host for starters. And then the co-host does things like Google searches and all the extra stuff because they're not only knowledgeable, but they're into it. And hey, look at the way I'm sounding right now. It looks like I'm making a request. Maybe I'll have to check on my settings and see if I'm doing a good job on that. Because as I just said, people with shitty phones are doing all the research, and people with good phones and the money to buy them ain't doing jack shit with any of their shit. It's just like a literal exact replica of everything that's happened with the class system and caste system of poor, middle class, rich. And then, who the fuck said that anybody needs to fucking use these things anyway? I know we're beyond that now. We're way past that point now. Everybody and their mother does have one of these phones now. It still doesn't mean very much at all. All that means is that human nature is still going to remain exactly the same. That's definitely not going to be changing anytime soon. So I wouldn't have any recommendations or advice unless you found it on a previous episode. And if all these episodes stay on and they're not canceled, then I'm more than happy to continue going on, especially with me already having something prepared for season 8. It's the significance of what I wrote the stuff down for to begin with. It's the significance of specific things that I'm not afraid to say, like the affinity, if you will, or way that functionality or way that numbers work for me, and the symbolic meaning of numbers work for me. That the combination of these two things season 8 should be bitchin'. But hey, even if it's not, season 9 is coming up right after that, and then that'll be super cool. And then even if those 2 seasons suck ass, like all 7 of these ones, then even season 10 will allow me the fucking parameters that I need to make season 11 the most badass season of them all. Because someone will go 11 seasons ranting like this without anything happening. There's no tap out. There's no fucking anything changing at all, or anything like that at all, or whatever, or what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it all mean? I don't know. It's like something small and digestible and easy to handle, provided to me to look at. That would make me a whole lot suspicious, but as it stands right now, I am extremely suspicious, apprehensive of everybody. There's all the reasons in the world to want to make podcasting your career and earn revenue, generate revenue, earn income. To generate revenue, earn income from being a podcaster as a career. There's nobody supporting it at all whatsoever, literally. The show, in other words, when you hear people that do make podcasts, they say the show is made possible by, and that's because they're generating revenue and all this stuff. This show isn't made possible by anything. This show is just literally kind of there, I guess. But I must be at it long enough to where pretty soon up ahead I might be reaching the fork in the road where I'll get to choose and decide whether I do want to use this as a tool to help, or a tool for good, to use it for good and help other people make a career podcasting, or whatever it is. I don't know, but luckily, it's just the same way that I'm pretty pissed off about having my audience be a black hole and just a robot that just extracts all the information. I've managed to actually make a few enemies along the way, where in the same way that I'm just literally like, who knows who can hear me? I don't know. Who knows who's watching me? I don't know. Someone is. And in the same way that is the way that it is, this is unacceptable. This is entirely unacceptable. This stuff is all not good. It will not be fucking tolerated. Where if you have the ability to see in any way, shape, or form what kind of people deserve what, or utilize people for resources, that's the main thing. That's the main problem here. You have to get politically involved, I guess, would be the thing. But unfortunately, I'm still able to experience all this stuff. So that means that I'm still able to do something about it. So if I'm experiencing any of this stuff in any way at all, it still produces a reaction. The reaction then gets broadcasted here, and I share that experience with you on here. And then later, all these experiences and all the stuff that's ever been shared here gets shared as well. And starting with what's already fucking there, and then, well, what we're gonna do is here on this show and on my fucking show and on the 8th season, lead up to my Facebook and whatever the fuck it is that happened there, whatever the fuck it is that happened to Instagram, as they're both owned by Meta, and then whatever the fuck it is also that happened with other, just like people directly and physically in my actual physical life will start to appear. And then with these answers, it's the revolution will not be televised type of thing that still somehow was televised, though. That even if it wasn't, I still got what I needed out of it, and that is to say, well, for me personally, on a personal, extreme personal level, that it's most people, it's like, it still makes sense. What I'm doing still makes sense to me. But what you're going to see with most people is they're going to give up, and then they're just going to say life doesn't care about your plans. This type thing. Or appear later with all the information that they need about me, and then do things to get a rise out of me, or to kind of poke and prod a little bit, like a German mad scientist poking and prodding at your brain, doing ECT and lobotomies and all this shit. Oh, I feel so good that I could say that. The world, it's so unfortunate that the world is actually not in as bad of shape as everybody is making it out to be right now. Where there's still plenty of shit to do. We still got plenty of the Amazon left. But, with all this time left, I don't know, I can't see what could possibly be more important than to address when there's large problems going on in an individual's life. Like I said, I'm basically broadcasting to a black hole, so I can't say much. But addressing problems that are broadcasted here, those would have a bit of difficulty finding you, the listener, who cares and wants and needs to listen to hear this stuff. But that doesn't change the fact that it'll still have pretty obvious titles, like Retrieving My Facebook, episode 167. I'm going to make sure that 167 is whatever else comes naturally other than Retrieving My Facebook. Talking to the local politician. There's just heads up on that stuff. Let me give you a heads up on that stuff. Like, you'll see an episode titled Talking to a Local Politician, Retrieving My Facebook. And then, whatever is the personal stuff that's going on in my life, like directly with people directly involved in my life, or people directly in my life. Physical people directly in my life, not in my phone. Real people. That stuff that won't be televised. There's plenty that won't be televised. It'll just be shit that actually matters, like physical people actually being there and shit. Talking to a politician about something, about that's fucking must have been some bullshit anyway. Not important. But I'm still broadcasting it and letting myself know, I guess, because I'm going to look back on it later, reference it later. I'd rather that it's referenced to the public, I guess. And honestly, it'd be nice to hear what people have to say about it and everything. Retrieving my Facebook, that's also not important at all. That's like that whole fucking Facebook thing ran its course anyway. So I'm not sure what else that it is. I'm not sure what else that it is that I could be broadcasting as news. But most likely what I'm going to be talking about is stuff that people who have an established podcast talk about. Like the music that I've been making. Recently, for example, as the music that I've been making recently rarely ever makes it into conversation because it's overshrouded and gets completely swallowed up by talking about old times or the good old days. Not the phrase the good old days, but the actual album the good old days. And just everything else that I've seen, where the thing that I like saying recently is like, this is completely wrong because I give you art, I give you poetry and song, and this is just completely wrong. In the state of the world, and the shape of the world, and the way that things are in, I can't say much at all about the artist community. other than what you see. And buckle up, guys. Get comfortable, get real comfortable and cozy, because this is going to be a long one. That the people in the artist community that appear on the show, for example, that's a good way to know what's going on. If I don't have to be the one that has to look at my own episodes a million times just to get the information out of there that needs getting, then, I mean, that would serve its purpose, but it appears not. It appears that that's not the case, and it appears that that's the opposite. And then having that completely defeat the purpose is beside the point. Me knowing what's going on in the artist community locally and specific, genre specific, and actually knowing what's going on, that's to the point where if anybody asked at any time, would be like, oh yeah, like myself right now doing an episode of my podcast, like, oh yeah, artists don't seem to be, you know, what's an accurate way of describing what it is that's going on? I would have to say it's impossible for me to provide that at this point, honestly. Because on one hand, I say I don't fucking know anything that's going on, and then on the other hand, I'd like to say something positive right immediately after, probably hoping that everything's okay or something, but not actually knowing. And then everything else after, I can just make up whatever the fuck I want and just say whatever the fuck that I want that I think is happening. But let us not forget, guys. There's a lot of fucking different moving parts in this machine. With your robots, like your people, your microchips, fucking gears, and all this shit. A lot of reality. Try telling somebody about ascetic practices or anything like that. See where that gets you, or if anybody's ever listening. Obviously, nobody's ever even listening to any of that. So if you've had enough, I can give you a way out right now and just say go be an ascetic. There's ascetic Jews too, just in case you were wondering what kind of ascetic. Just go do that. There's your way out. Probably your only way out. I don't know, but a lot of times I wind up in situations where I show up and then I'm like, all right, let's do this, and nobody's doing anything at all. They're just literally sitting on their fucking ass all day long, every day, doing absolutely nothing. So who else wouldn't, other than me, wouldn't want a fucking career podcasting on the side when they're not busy playing shows, writing music, and doing gigs? Oh, I would say just about everybody would fucking lick their chops at the opportunity. Anyway, where I'm tapped out at is not just the fucking circumstances, but the location that I'm at seems to be extremely unsupportive by nature. So, finding actual support, me being all paranoid. Let's talk about Hamlin's razor. Me being all paranoid here and what the fuck it is that's going on. Me not knowing jack shit, and then not needing to do much. Like, I don't need to do much. I don't have to do a whole shitload of shit just to fucking have some kind of something that makes sense, or something like that. But I mean, in general, I would have to just expand it. The territory to which I'm speaking is as totally incompetent as the whole country. Countrywide, I would have to consider my country entirely incompetent, and it makes me paranoid attributing this incompetence to malice. In a really snickery kind of way, like a little cutesy kind of way, I feel this malice that is actually just incompetence. Like, what other possibilities that actually ran through my head recently? A lot. Or maybe possibly this is a judgment and punishment thing. That's what's going on here. It's a judgment and punishment thing, and then as soon as I serve my sentence, oh wait. The extremes to which this whole thing is gone makes it to where I'm gonna have to deter myself, divert my path, inconvenience myself a great deal to make a whole section. I'll just give it its own whole section all to itself, since that's actually physically how it's made manifest. The situation I'm referring to has physically manifested itself all in one fucking position, all in one spot, all to its fucking self. And it spans thousands of miles, folks, thousands. I'm talking like a 5,000 or 6,000 mile radius. And then outside of that, I would be comfortable and feel pretty good about being not here. But I'm still there. I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm like literally directly in the center of this fucking thing right now. And so, diverting my path and inconveniencing myself, also not a problem. I just, I would have to decide whether that's something I'd want to do or not. And it turns out I don't, because, the way that it would be done is much better hypothetically, but of course things can always stimulate this and actually catalyze the event, where I could document this. Something would have to catalyze it though. Something would have to like scratch the surface and kind of make it, other than that it's possibility, other than it could happen, something would have to actually catalyze the event. But other than that, I'm pretty happy doing my own little thing here, where this whole fucking place on the map is completely fucked. And then outside of it, maybe it's either seeing places I haven't seen yet, or having me see places that I haven't seen yet be the only fucking option. But here in America, I mean, we don't have bombs going off and stuff. So I mean, I can play a lot of mental games here with everybody that we all play here. That's the, that's the MO. That's the game around here. Mental warfare. But it shouldn't threaten you if you have if you're well equipped and not threatened, and the stuff keeps going on. I have to ask myself, who the fuck is this place lying to? And who the fuck do they think they're lying to? Who the fuck do they think they are? And who the fuck do they think they're lying to? But there isn't much else that can be done other than to be, presented with the opportunity and then decline. Because all that other shit is fucking horse shit. Oh, maybe it's judgment and punishment. Maybe it's Hamlin's razor. Maybe it's all this other stuff. Maybe I need to comment on how I feel about me listening to any other podcast or listening to any other music at all. And, is it a personal level? I don't know, but a lot of it does go. A lot of this experience, a lot of this moment in time, does and has gone uploaded into the internet for public view. So it's going to be a lot of people frantically running around, like literally with their heads cut off, feeling vibes for a while. I mean, until this whole thing smooths out. I mean, it's like, what do you think a show is? A fucking, am I the incompetent one? Oh, I'm the incompetent one. Let me pull myself up out of my own bootstraps. No problem at all. No problem at all adjusting and fixing when I know what the problem is. Same with everybody else. And that's where you would find me utilizing discretion on the Vault of Doom podcast with me, mickeygemineye. All auditory as well for these final shit episodes. And complete, total lowest fucking possible quality. It's just a black screen. There's just nothing even on the screen. It's just all black. Yeah, is any of this a threat to national security? Maybe there would be a genre of music that I can play that game with, or maybe there's a podcast genre where I can discuss things like that. But if a person like me is actually on the chopping block, and a person like me is actually under that threat, it would have to be something for more than that I'm freaking out, or it would have to be something more than that I'm angry, or something more than I'm frustrated or something like that. But here you can just say you're frustrated and everybody will believe you. You can just say I'm frustrated, I don't want to do it, this and that, blah blah blah. Hey, no problem, everybody will believe you. Take it easy on this guy. Is there anybody that cares if the other party understands or not? It's like that should be an important thing before you just have courtrooms filling up with like more than their capacity. I mean, did that ever occur to anybody that there's actually a capacity of people that the courtrooms, the court system can take before they just have people coming in? Hundreds piling in and day out on civil matters or criminal matters or legal matters of some sort, and you just have these problems. What context am I speaking up under is first and foremost my freedom of speech, and that is a free country that I am in where I have freedom of speech. But I can go have freedom of speech in a few other places if this is going to be how this goes down. Speaking on where I'm broadcasting right now, let me understand what the purpose of 100 episodes in and not saying where I'm broadcasting now would be. Well, I'm 100 episodes in because I'm creating an ambiance, and I am a certain kind of person and a certain type of person. So I'm going to just let myself be who I am, and then fucking get to a point where, if this isn't mattering, I'll get to a point where there's better shit than this, and it's still not mattering. Like, this is shit. This is a shit episode. This is a shit recording location. Total shit. But it doesn't matter though. So let me make a cool episode. Let me go in a cool recording location, and it still doesn't matter. It's still not gonna matter, but it's a better location and a better episode. But it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. So, as I was saying with all that stuff, I mean, that's not what it is. It's not any of that. It seems to be just, like, whatever's got me on the cockhold of the fucking, in the chokehold and cuckold of mentally here. It's doubtful whether it's even actually me, or whether I'm breaking the rules right now, of the unspoken rules right now of speaking on who you are and who I am, and I'm you and you're me rule game. You know, if you can't play the third party game or the collecting of data and information game, at least follow the rules of the I'm you, you're me game. Because that's just another game without more rules, and if there are, we can make them up as we go along. And all these apps are updating their privacies and security policies like once a year or something like that. It might even be quarterly per year. But a real conspiracy theorist would say something like that. You know, they'd be like, they'd be like exaggerating on how often the platforms that you're streaming on and applications that you're using on your phone are updating their privacy and security policies. But apparently I'm never ever allowed to ever do anything or be anybody, except especially right now where I'm saying I'm not you and you're not me. So whatever fucking problem that it is that you have, don't make me fucking have to act like don't make me have to act like I don't have your problems, because I'm still having your problem. But if I have to act like I don't, you know, that's like a rule. Isn't that a rule of some sort? Like, you can allow someone to believe that they're you, or whatever. What actually in the actual fuck is that? Honestly, this is where I just say, to hell with it. Whatever, fuck it, damn it, all to hell. Like, literally just press the stop button, upload the episode, watch the time fucking progress and pass by as we all start freaking out and acting like we've never seen a fucking anything remotely like this before or something like that. You know, I'm in a position where I can do things right now. So what fucking position is that? What things am I doing? You'll have to stay tuned and fucking keep watching my show to find out. And also make sure that it's not a rule of any sort that you fucking drop a comment on these videos that you're watching and saying either how you feel or hello or what you think about me. You can literally just see me drinking a beverage and then be like, hey, I love that beverage. It's nice to know that there's someone there, and that's of course in the fucking comments section of my show. I would probably not like it so much if I had to ever experience anything like this ever remotely again, because folks, it's bad. It's fucking really bad out here. And I said this earlier, this is fucking retarded. But I did say it would be a long one, so I'll direct you now to some self-promo. Go to Dire Mood BM at YouTube. Check out my new black metal music. I'm also Mickey Gemineye, that's my name, and if you go to Mickey Gemineye's YouTube channel, you'll find a plethora of stuff. There is an entire channel that is not associated with Lions Den Productions, but those two channels that I just mentioned, those are directly associated with Lions Den Productions. If you go to Mickey's ASMR and check out some of the SFX, sleep sounds, white noise, etc., and just general ASMR, mostly sound effects, including things like crunchy leaves, water, babbling brook, chopping a machete chopping trees. That's Mickey's ASMR. That's totally separate from Lions Den Productions. It has nothing to do with Lions Den Productions. What does all this stuff mean legally? How is any of that going to actually hold up in a court of law? I don't know. I'll have to fucking figure that out when it comes. I'll have to cross that bridge when it comes. or not cross any bridges ever at any point in time, or thou shalt not fucking pass, fucking parry you fools. I don't fucking know, guys, but it's a fucking Mickey's ASMR channel. Go check it out. It's Mickey's ASMR. Other than those 3 channels, you got right here the Vault of Doom podcast, and this is a Lion's Den production. So if you go to Lion's Den Productions YouTube channel, you'll find some best of open mic performances. Best of the previous incarnation of the show, and that's Lion's Den Podcast. The best of those 2 on there. There's also an exclusive conversation. In fact, the conversation that my Facebook got removed immediately after recording this conversation. That's a header and a title I should add if I didn't have special fucking spaces like here on this 100th episode of the 7th season of my fucking show to talk about how that happened. I don't know, it's like, I guess this is supposed to be bad, guys. I don't think this is very bad at all. And it's definitely not illegal. So I'm not sure how life could get any better than this. But that's all it's going to do. Having the recording of the audio of me saying all this, and then having it be exaggerated, and me exaggerating the definition of this, has got me feeling like I should say what's coming natural. And right now I'm feeling like there's something that I can document right here, but I'm going to also choose not to document this. In fact, it's not going to make its way into here at all, because it's literally meaningless. So let me only speak about the stuff I find meaningful, and not the shit that I call meaningless. Not the shit, and definitely not the shit people that I call meaningless. I mean, doesn't that to you, as an audience, or even as a fellow podcaster, sound exactly like what a beginner podcaster would sound like? You know, this is great. This is a great, perfect arena to have all this stuff to work all this stuff out. Just go ahead and work it all out, buddy, you know? You know, I'm dancing around the edges of something right now that I'd rather it not be there at all. But I'm constantly validating and rationalizing that it's excusable based on whatever it is that I am, and whoever it is that I am, and whatever it is that I do. That is a sickness. I would say, let's talk about that for a little bit. Oh wait, it's a fucking literally made up imaginary in your fucking head thing that, like, there might be certain shit in this country that's either illegal or not illegal, but there's plenty of fear to go. Let's start with that. Okay, that's terrorism. So that'd be terrorism if I was to feed on your fear. That's either terrorism or the beginning frameworks of terrorism, that if I'm gonna feed on your fear from you feeling so guilty about being such a shit human that you would eventually be a terrorist, or that not you, me, I'm the one who would eventually become the terrorist. So let's think about a play-by-play fucking in scenario while we're live. What use do I fucking have for a podcast? Or what use do I have for much of anything? I would say, you know, now's a really good time to throw out things you can't use anymore. And then stop using the terminology like throw away things that no longer serve me. How about just throw away the things that you don't use anymore? You know, it's definitely a feminine versus masculine type of scenario here. But we'll see how extreme that I need to make one episode of a simple show be put out. Because what I'm actually thinking about throughout the day, you know, is none of your fucking business. Back to what I was saying about becoming a terrorist one day. It's the sickness of rationalizing, and you know what it is? Spawned from something very old and dormant, like me being here in this place, and then two time. I get the twice over. This place is already a really old country with like very few people having ever lived here or recording any history of having ever lived here. And then I'm in a place where like basically I was born, like basically I was raised here. So like I'm not out and about and out of my comfort zone or anything like that or anything like that. It's just a literal really old place for me. So that's great. That's great. That makes it so that if I pass or if I don't pass the test of whatever test or challenge that I decided to give myself this time, to the brink of insanity and the brink of fucking completely destroying my health, that the goddamn rationalizing who I would become of the fucking who I would become being an important or not important fucking aspect at all. It's either way I'm gonna rationalize and say that it's fine and it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna react and say it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna be okay, but what is actually going on here? Well, I'm always trying to do something very fucking simply put and simply done and simply researched on and simply fucking legal and all the stuff and whatever that you have it, and it's still not possible. There's always some fucking excuse in the fucking way, and it has to have a big deal fucking made out of it. It's the kind of shit that literally is not only making me a future terrorist, but I'm rationalizing everything to the point where even if I was a future or wasn't a future terrorist, well, I'll have to make a big deal out of that now too. And then make a big deal out of everything. And then it's just like, you know, is that an all my life thing, or is that just what I said right now because I'm moving on along? Well, luckily I am moving on along. Like I said, what use would I have for a fucking podcast? Like, you know, obviously that thing that I was talking about on the episode about gaslighting, I thought more about that later. I had to rethink about that again later, where I didn't finish what I was saying. And this is what it said. This is what I said. This is what I said. I said, I was like, well, if this person is saying that they made music way less time, have been making music for way less time than the amount of time that they told me, does that mean he's trying to tell me that I'm useless or something like that? You know, it's like that kind of thing. That was the message that I think that he was trying to portray. Like, hey, if that is or is not what he was trying to say, unacceptable means. Not, can't rationalize it any fucking way, shape, or form. You can't make that right. If he's challenging me and is saying I'm useless and that he does not have, and nobody has any use for me, and that I am a useless bag of shit, you can do whatever you want there. You can rationalize that all you want. Especially rationalize it, because if that's how I'm feeling at the time, it needs something added onto it so it doesn't just fall by the fucking wayside and grow into something much larger and become something much worse, like a terrorist. But whether I'm doing this or not properly is not up for debate. I'm not doing it properly when I don't follow up and ask him myself, hey, did you know that you told me that you were making music for a different amount of time than when you told me? It's like, dude, I'm not going to do that. I'm subpar, fucking half-assed, have no incentive to fucking do anything properly ever. You know, when I do things properly, you know, that's on you to fucking find that shit. When I find things that are good and good quality and that I like and all this stuff, that was on me. That was my fucking, that was me that benefited from it. You aren't benefiting from me being a better podcaster. You know, so it became menial and meaningless, and I let that one fall by the wayside until I was ready to address it. And then where the problem lies directly in that, is that who's waiting around the corner about being paranoid about me jumping up and doing everything all fucked up? You know, who's worried about me doing everything all fucked up, man? Because you're going to be the one who's causing way more problems than any I'm ever going to fucking have. So, luckily there's people who say, like, all that. I'm done with the fucking episode. I'm moving on and I want to go do something else right now. So, luckily there's people who do all that in 30 seconds or less. And me do this in like an hour or two or whatever, however long it was. And doesn't matter, I still have retained my posture and maintained and preserved my character. So whoever it is that's out there that I have to thank for that, amidst all that bitching, that storm of bitching and complaining, unfortunately may or may not have hit some innocent bystanders along the way. And that would be where I have to be like, hold up a second here, not fucking going anywhere without thanking whoever it is that I have to thank for preserving my character. Is that me? Do I need to look at myself in the mirror? Do I need to do that all the fucking time? Well, maybe fucking no to you too, because I'm not going to keep a fucking mirror in my pocket, even though that's exactly what my phone is. I don't give a fuck. So, fuck you. I'm out of here. Anyway, that would be a shitty note to end on. I'm actually not going to end on that note. There's a lot of fucking referencing back to stuff, a lot of fucking reverting back to stuff, a lot of referring to something in the past and all this stuff. And I nailed that right on the head right there, where I'm talking about whatever political stuff that people might be worried about or exposing in terms of knowledge about the country. Like, I care way more about me as an individual. I'm not from this country. I fucking live here, and I'm a citizen here, and I'm not from this fucking place. So, me to be here in this old-ass fucking place, and then be here in this old-ass place to me, this is an old place to me. I know where everything is around this fucking place. What that fucking is me being like, I nailed it on the head. And then when I nail stuff on the head, it expands and I go farther in. And when you expand and you go farther in, and then you go so fucking far in, you wind up here where I'm at. It's a really confusing place to be, because I'm always on the fence here. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? I'm not sure if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. But there's really plenty of good times to be had, and plenty of time to have those good times to have. So what you can expect is probably some half-assed, off-brand bullshit from me. At least in terms of, you know, the way that I'm going to receive that. The way that I'm going to be receiving the feedback is going to appear to me to be that way, probably. And that's, dude, like literally whatever everything actually is, I could give a flying fuck at all. Same, I don't give a fuck, just the exact opposite of, the exact opposite kind. There's that part of me that's like, I don't give a fuck, you're not getting jack shit at all. Thus, I put together the season finale and the 100th episode with the poorest, worst possible fucking quality. And then there's the part of me that's like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do things my fucking way. It's my fucking way. You know, who is the only one other than me that simply is able to see these things going on in themselves, and then see these things going on in a physically made manifest, and then is prepared for the next thing. It's like whatever your next move is, whatever you want to do next, you know. In my mind, a bunch of people are going to just throw me a bunch of suitcases full of money, and then I'm going to go fucking buy a plane ticket and go fucking somewhere that makes sense. Is that how it's going to go down? Is that how it's going to? Well, anyway, I do have to go, so I'm just going to bounce out right there.